Hey everyone, well, welcome back to the channel. And what I'm doing here is I'm doing some videos here by request, and I've had a request to do this. And the title of this one's going to be Twin Flame Soulmates, Part 2, Transference, True Healing for each other and family and children and soul growth. But before I get into it, just a couple of things I wanted to mention. A couple of people had asked me the name of the artist uh, of the paintings that we've been exchanging up on the wall. We have a couple more left that I'm going to be putting up here later on down the road. The gentleman's name is George Wabagoose. Obviously, he's an indigenous artist in Canada. He's pretty well known here. And if you need some further information or want to scroll through his stuff, just Google him, and you'll come up with a lot of stuff. Okay, it's all there on the internet. Okay, the second thing that I wanted to mention, um, I hadn't anticipated quite the um, interest that's been going on with the meditation group that I'm going to do on the May the 19th at 1 o'clock. And a couple of you have been really enthusiastic, and I love enthusiastic people. You went ahead and you used our donation PayPal button to go in and pay for it already. Uh, I love your excitement, but you're getting ahead of me here, and you're getting ahead of before we even get started. So please don't do that anymore. Wait. In a week's time from now, we're going to put up a link that you can go to for a PayPal account that pertains to the actual Zoom platform that we're going to use. And along with that, once you've paid, you will get a registration. You will also get a link that will describe the time zones and all of the differences. And all you'll have to do is on May the 19th, just at 1 o'clock, wherever you are, just click on the link and it'll take you right to the meditation group that we're going to be doing. All right. And thank you very much for all of your interest. I really do appreciate it. You caught me by surprise. You really did. Because there seems to be quite a boatload of you there that are interested. We'll see how many of you actually show up. Okay. Now, to get on with the video here, what I want to do is when I did the last video, I talked about, the signs and the symptoms that were experienced between two people, and some of them were quite hilarious, okay? And this that I talked about in the other video was a phase, and this is a phase of growth that these types of connections go through, where you have that telepathic connection and you can feel each other, you can sense each other, you can smell each other, and some of the things that are going on are really wild and wacky. And the one thing that I have to say is it gets your attention, doesn't it? All right. It puts you into a new perspective of there's so much more to life, to being human, than what you thought of when you start picking up on your soulmate or your twin flame connection and you're feeling and expressing all of these different things. It's like, wow. All right. And it can be very, very uh, difficult for some people to experience because you get shocked right out of your comfort zone, literally. And in a lot of cases, there's a lot of creative abilities that start showing up. Excuse me. And a lot of experiences that can be happening in the sexual, sensual, etheric realm. And then it kind of levels out and you achieve a state of balance where what's happened is if I can put it this way, when a person says they love someone or something, they can only express their love based on the level of consciousness that they're at and the belief systems about love that they have previously acquired, excuse me, and express it that way. So what you have is you have a whole bunch of people expressing love from their present state of consciousness that are the culmination of the belief systems that they've ingrained within themselves. So you have a whole variation of experiences going on. Once the couple or this person by themselves can do this also. Once the line of communication has been set up, once they can navigate through some of the trials and tribulations, once they can uh, navigate through the energies that are activated within the two of them. And I believe the last one is when they can learn to compromise. Now, when I say compromise, what I mean is give and take, be flexible. But also when I say compromise, I mean in the energetic way also. And what I mean by energetic is learn to, when the energetic connection is really, really strong, this is really a difficult part for a lot of people, is because we have become very much control freaks, all right? We're all basically, that's what a narcissist is basically a control freak. And I can show you that everyone on the planet to a degree is a control freak. Because when it comes to experiences, new things like an energetic connection between yourself and another person, the first thing you want to do is control of it. You want to be in control of it. And sooner or later, through this process of transference that goes on, you become very educated and you become very open and you learn to surrender, very important step here, to the energetic ebb and flow of the energy between two people. And this comes when you've learned all the little bits and pieces that I just talked about in some way, shape, or form. All right. So once this has happened and you reached a relative state of balance, yin-yang balance between the two of you, now I need to mention here also, just for the record, this does not mean that you need to be living with your soulmate or your twin flame or your divine partner under the same roof. Everybody on this planet, more or less, in varying, well, not everybody, but the biggest majority of people on this planet, and this goes with the females more than the males, have this thing in their head that their sole purpose in life is to get together with someone, get married, live in the burbs, and have a relationship. And I get it. I understand that that's a lot of what some of you want to do. And you're going to have that. You are. But then there are other people who want more, or know there's more, or want to move beyond just that particular vibration or pattern. There's nothing wrong with wanting to live in the burbs with your soulmate, your twin flame, your divine partner. There's nothing wrong with that at all. That is one of the purposes. I said one of the purposes in these divine connections, soul to soul, twin flame connections. But it's not, everybody's is not going to come together in exactly that fashion. So we have people who get into real snit when they say, well, I want a relationship. I want my twin flame in a relationship. And I agree, you may want your twin flame in a relationship, but you're not going to have a relationship as you knew it based on your old concept of love at your level of consciousness that is composed of all of your belief system. You're not going to have it that way. The reason being is if some of you have noticed that dysfunctional people and dysfunctional families are more and more becoming the norm in our society. And it's acceptable now. All right? It's getting acceptable. It's acceptable now to have dysfunctional people in dysfunctional relationship. So this is why these soul-to-soul connections are happening the way they're happening. So that the present template that is not functioning in a proper fashion, which is taking humanity and relationships in a very non-creative direction, and the universe or the divine has said, well, we're going to change the boat, we're going to change the pattern, we're going to change things here, and we're going to put it together in a different way. And we're going to put them all through a process of evolution that's going to come out with a unique form of two people and how they're going to express in three-dimensional reality. And that form of a defined relationship, as most of you see it, may be very, very different as you've been brought up to think what a relationship is or how it should manifest in form. So there's going to be a great many. To give you an example, I know a couple of sets of twin flames that I met some years ago. And these twin flames are both, both couples are both happy in their present marriages. They don't want to leave. And they've connected with their twin flame. They're very happy. They don't want to be together and live with their twin flame. And they want to stay in the marriages and the relationships that they are now, and they're perfectly happy. And what they do is the twin flames in this situation do get together, and they do workshops, they do retreats, whatever. There's no sexual connection between the two of them physically, per se, and they live regular lives like the rest of other people are doing. And people would say, well, that's really weird. No, it's not weird at all. This is the way we're going in the future. Relationships in their present state have put our society into the state of chaos and crisis that it is at this particular point. We have become a race of consumers, and we cannot continue to consume at the rate that we are. And the only way that's going to stop and change is if we change the format of relationships as they have been in the past. Does that make sense to anybody? I mean, really, folks, this is not rocket science. This is really not that difficult to see if you've got any vision at all. But the problem I see with a lot of people is they can't see beyond their own little 50-foot space and everything that's in it, and that's all that matters. And that's part of the evolutionary process, is to get most of us out of that 50-foot space that we live in, and that little tiny world with our little circle of friends and associates and that kind of thing, and break us out of that bubble of individuality that we've seen that's expressed. Nothing wrong with individuality, but when you put it in a tight little compressed box or a ball and you have it there and it's very limited, it's time for the evolution process to come along and shake the shit out of it and change things. So when you have the individuals in question in balance, this is what happens. Now, as I mentioned, this can be in a traditional relationship format, as some of you know it. It can be in the type that I've described, and it can also be simply a situation where you have a soul-to-soul connection, or a twin flame, or a soulmate. I'm using all of the labels here because there isn't really any segregation at all in it, all right? The label just gives certain people a platform that they can go to and express their belief systems from there, all right? And it's like in the twin flame community. What happens is you have all of the people there say, oh yeah, I've met my twin flame, this is what it is. I don't find the connections that the twin flames are having any different than a pair of soulmates that I've talked to. They're talking about the same thing. And I talk to people who call it a divine partnership, and they tell me the same symptoms. So it's all one in the same process. Some of us are just, well, I'm really fed up with this twin flame shit. I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm not going to be in the friggin' Facebook groups. They're not going anywhere. So I'm going to call it a divine partner. Call it what you want. Call it Ralph and Hallie if you want. Doesn't matter. It's not about the label. It's about the process that's taking place. And people need to understand that. And some of you get your noses really out of joint when I talk about it in the way that I talk about it. And you say to me, well, you can't be a twin flame if you're talking the way you're talking. I am. I know I am. But you need to understand something about twin flame. And I'll point this out when I've talked to some of the other ones who, who are twin flames. Here's a big secret, folks. Most of the original twin flames, they're not on Facebook. They're not on YouTube. They really aren't. You know where they are? They're actually out in society doing something. They're in banks. They're in insurance companies. They're in every segment of our society. And you know what else? They don't even know, some of them, they're twin flames. They don't know it. And you know what else? I know some others who know they're twins and they don't give a shit about the label. They couldn't care less. You see? Some people get caught up in the more important than the label, belonging to something that they can make themselves feel special. That's why they do it. Because they want to feel special and they want to be part of something. Because most of the people on the planet, all right, we live very, very mundane and boring lives. And the only feeling that we get of anything good, we have to be constantly entertained, new stimulation, more movies on Netflix. We need more toys to play with, bigger cell phone with more doodads and gadgets and bells and whistles and all that crap on it. because we constantly want to be stimulated from the outside. And we want to feel like we're part of something. So you are part of something. Everyone now on the planet, thanks to a bunch of original twin flames that come in, of which I'm a part of, all right, which I am a part of, and Nicole and quite a few others, have already in the collective, put in the collective that template for a successful relationship that begins not from the bottom, the emotional experience of love, relationship, and sexuality from the top, from the soul to soul divine level, and filters down. Not the old way that goes from the bottom up and hopefully you get to the spirituality. This is now from the top down. Everyone has access to it when they're ready for it at a soul level. That does not mean at a conscious waking state level that you might think you're ready for it. Okay, just want to make that point. Okay, so now back to the couple. And what you have is you have a situation here where they've gone through the transference phase and all the gigglies and all the experiences that go along with it. And hopefully they got to talk to somebody who can make sense of what's going on. And then they get to the part that I talked about with the 4 aspects all coming into play. Now we're into the really beneficial stuff. Once you reach this level, and I'm going to use that word, level, you have acquired a level of consciousness that is far superior to what you had before. And your understanding of love, be that as may, is no longer from the emotional perspective and emotional ingrained belief systems that facilitate the emotional experience of love within your etheric and physical body. You are now experiencing love from the heart center chakra, which in essence is from Source Creator Center. But you use the word love because it gives you understanding. So you've acquired a new level of consciousness to express love, relationship, and sexuality from, because you have acquired a new bunch of belief systems that anchor this new love state of consciousness that you've built through the development of your personality is now stabilized. Did you get all of that? You may have to go back and play this part again. Get it in there. It needs to go in deeply in there. So once you've reached this point and you have this exchange going on between two people, and they are surrendering the energy exchange between the two of them and not trying to control or manipulate it, all right? This is another area here that I'm just going to touch on briefly for a moment. One of the things that we have done with a certain energy on this planet, we have tried to control it, manipulate it, use it, abuse it, do every kind of deformity that can be pressed upon it. Do you know what that energy is? Sexual energy. And the results you see in our society at this point are the direct result. And everyone on this planet has participated in the degrading of sexual energy, not by choice, but by ingrained belief systems, and that has been passed down from one generation to another, so that our sexual energy has degraded in vibration to the point where it's manifested certain viruses and conditions and malfunctions, if you will. And what's happening is when you get to the point where you surrender at the top of that energetic connection between you and the other one by any label that you choose, is you're raising the vibration of sexuality. And you're moving it up, and you're eliminating from it these blockages and impediments that came from your old concept of love, relationship, and sexuality that was expressed from that lower state of consciousness that allowed you to experience love. Are you following me? This is not rocket science, all right? So now that you have arrived, you and your divine partner, your soul twin, your twin flame, your soulmate, your split apart, whatever friggin' name you want to call it, you've arrived. And your connection has taken form in some shape in physical reality. So what do you do now? This is where it gets real fun, all right? This is where the fun begins. Now you're at a point in your consciousness where you understand something I've been trying to tell you, all of you lovely people out there, for years. When you have this connection, all right? And it goes on between you and another person. It's not all about you. It is not all about him or him and him and her and her. It's not all about the two of you. It's not. Never was right from the beginning. You think it is, but it's not. It never was all about you. Because now, from where I'm talking about, you now become an ambassador, a messenger, okay? An emissary, if you will. Now, you can actually do something positive, creative, because you've gone through what I describe as an initiation. And that initiation has given you trials, tribulations, and challenges, which I'm going to say every one of you is capable of moving through, or you wouldn't have had the experience in the first place. I want you to remember that. Every one of you that has got involved in a challenge, a tribulation, or a difficulty in a soul-to-soul connection, twin flame connection, a soulmate connection, has the wherewithal within yourself to overcome it and rise above it, or you wouldn't have had the experience in the first place. So all this stuff about I can't do it, I won't do it, I don't want to do it, is nothing but bullshit. Every one of you can do it. You have what it takes inside of you to do it. All you need is the right information and the right stimulus and the right motivation to get going. So, all right, now I've given you a nice little prep talk to get you in the right frame of mind. And now you're at that point. The two of you are in whatever form. You've got the connection. You've surrendered to the energetic connection that goes on at the soul level, over soul level, the angel level, master teacher level, whatever hell label you want to call it, whatever makes your comfort zone comfy. You want to be comfy in your comfy zone, right? You need your jammy jizz. Okay, you need to be comfy. All right, when you're doing this kind of stuff, you need to be comfy. Comfy, comfy, comfy. There we go. All right. So now you're at this stage, and what happens is now you've created more and more of the third energy between the two of you because you've surrendered, and your belief systems about love have expanded and reached a new level of attainment and consciousness that you now live in. So what happens now? You're radiating all of this wonderful loosh. Some of you have heard that word from another gentleman. You're radiating all of this wonderful loosh, he called it. I liked the word when I heard him use it, loosh. And Robert Monroe was his name, by the way, if you can't remember. Very important gentleman, had a lot to say, and he did it very well. And what happens when you're radiating a lot of this, what you're doing is this. If you have an ex-spouse or you have children involved, as you're radiating, you are sending that energy to them without condition, without manipulation, and without an agenda, because you learn to do it between the two of you. This is the important point here. Because you learned all of these things to do between the two of you, you're now capable of doing the same thing for other people, and you don't even need to be aware that you're doing it. All right? But I'm going to make you aware of what you're doing because some of you are getting discouraged with the soulmate twin flame thing, and you need to know that you're doing something that's unique and very special. All right? You need to know that. It is important that everybody feels good about what they're doing, that they're doing something to contribute in whatever way that may be. I like to be of service to people. It makes me feel as though I'm contributing. It makes me feel as though my purpose in being here was worthwhile being here in the first place. Everybody wants to feel that way. So what happens is if you have a situation in your family, for example, and one of you or both of you had dysfunctional patterns that you acquired from your parents that became part of you, and you worked through them, initially on your own, and then you would have worked through some with your twin flame soulmate, whatever, and you cleared them, guess what you've done? You have cleared those dysfunctional patterns that went through you and you cleared them out. You've cleared them for perhaps an ex-partner or an ex-spouse or an ex-boyfriend or 2 or 3 boyfriends or 3 or 4 girlfriends down the road. You have also passed that on to everybody at a hereditary and genetic level, which means if those dysfunctional patterns, a lot of people know that now that, heart conditions are basically manifesting people who have a difficulty expressing love. I've known that since I was about 35. Most people haven't figured it out yet. That diseases can manifest because of a dysfunctional way of thinking or a pattern or a mental malfunction. And these are genetic and hereditary. They come from the parents, the grandparents, and so on and so on. So if you come through them, you actually change that template and pass it down the line to those who are immediately in your presence. First of all, to ex-spouses. If you have children, you eliminate that pattern of the children possessing it, especially if they're going to be going through puberty on both sides of the fence. Okay? So if you're doing that, and you're removing that, and then you're doing it on the other side also with the other person. Now you can be doing this yourself, even though you may be still in a, say, 5 or 10 year separation with your twin flame soulmate, whatever you want to call it. And you can still do it because you can still etherically connect or telepathic connect with the one that you had the original connection with, and you could do it on your own. Of course, you say, well, I'd really like to be with him or her. Yes, I understand that. But for some of you, if you can't be with him or her, you can attract to yourself someone who is similar or like thereof that could be labeled as a twin flame soulmate or a soul-to-soul connection. Remember when I did that, I don't know, I think I did that 3 or 4 years ago, and they said you can have more than one twin flame? My God, I created a shitstorm in the twin flame community. Everybody was after Mel. Okay, remember what I told you so? Because now hundreds and thousands of you are now having that exactly happen. All right, and hundreds of you out there have thought you met your original twin flame, and you found out it wasn't so because you connected with another, and the connection was even stronger than the first. And why does that happen? Because the old you from the limited state of consciousness that you had about love is dead and gone, and you acquired a new frequency and a new consciousness of love, so you attracted someone else to you. But you want to throw in the label again, you see? The label's irrelevant. Am I getting through here? The label's irrelevant. Let me give you another example of how irrelevant the label is, okay, just for the hell of it. One day I'm going to go home. Okay? I'm going to leave the body. And do you think when I get back and I see my friends on the other side say, hi, it's me, Twin Flame Mel. Do you think that I'm really going to give a rat's ass about calling myself a twin flame? The only place that twin flame is important to people is here in physical reality. The only place that soulmate is important is to people here in physical reality. Because you got to give it some form for the connection. It's a belief system. And everybody will create their belief system from where they're residing from. And I know I'm going too fast for some people. I'm losing you. All right, that's okay. You'll be back another day. So anyways, now, these two have been passing this on now to the dysfunctional patterns which they work through at this particular point. And what happens is now you pass it on to the immediate members of your family still in the body. And here comes the good point. Now, because you're still growing and evolving and you're become a messenger and ambassador, you are now templating those who have predeceased you, those who are back in the etheric, the astral planes, or wherever they may be, now have access to the template of all of the stuff that you've gone through, cleared out, and done away with, so that if they choose to come back in this timeline or a different timeline altogether, they don't have to come back and do that silly thing that people keep calling karma, because there's no such thing as karma anymore. It doesn't exist. It never did. It only was a belief system started by a certain group and became popular. So that takes place. So now you're into the soul group. So here's another important point, and there are some variations of this, and I want to talk specifically about children. A lot of you out there have children who are going to go into puberty or are in the age of puberty. And I'm going to tell you something, in my mind, the children are more important than we are. They are. They are the next generation of creators. And if you have children and you are in a twin flame connection, and those children are going through puberty. Puberty is, and I want to emphasize this point, and this is how I feel, the time of puberty, when the biological changes start taking place in the body and they go through those teenage years, in my mind, is the most important time in the development of a person's life. I don't care what psychologists and psychiatrists say that the personality is formed when they're younger. I don't give a shit about all of that. That's irrelevant. The most important time is when they go through that stage of teenage years, and I'll tell you why. Because at that point, the consciousness of the outer personality and the consciousness of the inner personality, I call it the little boy, the little girl, they're so close together, like this. And as most of you know, a teenager that gets a pimple on their face, it's a world-shaking crisis, wrong pronunciation. Somebody will correct me on that. If they get traumatized, it's even worse. If they get sexually abused, it's even worse. Now add in all of the dysfunctional personality traits of the parents, whatever they may be, and they get downloaded into the teenagers, and they carry that into the next generation and so on. Now you see what's happening. So in my opinion, if you have children prior to puberty, or they're starting puberty, everything you do is crucial. All right? Everything that happens, in my mind, is more important to the children than it is to you. They are the next generation. They're going to carry forward the templates and the new belief systems and the energetic spin-off that you have created within yourself and your partner, be it in whatever form that it is. So the immediate result is, one, when you do this, after you've gone through the transference at the emotional, mental, and you've gone through all of the giggly, willy stuff, the benefit that comes out of it after that in the connection with the other is you, first of all, you acquire that inner balance and template yourself. You do not need to be perfect in this situation. I've been told by many in the etheric planes, reasonably close will do. Ascension of consciousness and ascension into the higher realms does not mean that you need to take the body with you. It does mean that you need to take the personality with you. That's the crucial part. And it's here in the earth plane that the new personality of the new species of Homo sapien is going to be evolved and grow. And that is exactly what's happening on this planet at this time. I have vision. I can see this. Others have the same thing and they can see it. And many people put it into different definitions and different ways. And that's all good, because we need to reach everybody on the planet. So when you're doing this, this is what you're doing. You're doing it individually for yourself. Then if there are children involved in your bloodline and your family, they're the next template. And then after that, you're going into your soul group, and you're going to the people that are coming in. Oh, one thing I wanted to mention before I forget. When you've templated, for example, people in your bloodline and your family, this is like beyond the children, you can template your ex-spouse and your boyfriend or whatever, all of that stuff behind you. But what happens here is that I want to mention this. You may not see any results in this lifeline from people that you template. So I need to, because you're going to come back and say, well, I understand what you're saying, Mel, but okay, so I templated my uncle or my brother or my sister or whatever, and they're still assholes or whatever, or they still act like a jerk. Yes, I get it. You've templated them, but that doesn't mean it's going to manifest right away. All right. If a person is in a certain vibration, a certain pattern, and a certain degree of difficulty in experiencing something, it means because they need it. All right. You've given them the gift. That's what you're doing. You're giving them the gift of that particular template that can be used at a later time when they finally have enough experiences that their personality is ready to change. What happens is each generation, as we go along consecutively, will have an easier and easier time with this evolutionary process until eventually, I'm not quite sure how far it's going to go down the road. All of this stuff that you see going right now on YouTube and the internet about the evolutionary process and ascension and all of the higher states of consciousness and all of that stuff and all the signs and symptoms and all of this stuff that we're all going through, guess what? In the future, it's all going to happen in the womb, all of it. And it's going to be, because right now, we're evolving, we're a species that's evolving, and we need to understand that. The problem that we have in our society, in everyday society, there's no place that you can go. You can't go into your high school, you can't go into your college, you can't go into your university, and you can't find any of the stuff that I'm talking about that makes sense. You won't find it there. So this makes the challenge even more. And the reward for you is even better because you're becoming an ambassador, an emissary, and you're going to download these people with doing it. And I really want people to understand the goodness that they're doing and the gifts that they're giving and how much value they should value themselves at this particular point. If you've reached this point and you understand what I'm saying to you, that you're doing this, good grief. Go in the bathroom and look in the mirror and pat yourself on the back and say, wow, I've really come through a struggle and look what I'm doing. I'm making this possible for all of the members in my family, my dysfunctional this and my dysfunctional that, and any kind of hereditary and genetic diseases and disorders, mental disorders. All of this comes from the past, all right? And everything that's created in the astral planes, where people are, and once you go to the astral planes, you need to understand it. The etheric planes, you go where your belief systems have created for you a personality. That's where you go, and you go there and you'll be there with a bunch of other people. That's all changing because of what you're doing. Because you're going through this soul-to-soul connection, this twin flame connection, this soulmate connection. We need to stop with all of this segregation of this stuff. All right. I mean, the most ridiculous thing I say is people come to listen to a video that do say, no, I don't think you're even a twin flame. I don't give a shit what you think. That's irrelevant. I only care about what I think. And then I like to turn around and give you information that can help you think. You see, some people on this planet think they think. There are other people on this planet who rather die than think. And there's some in the spiritual community who are already dead thinkers. They ain't going anywhere. Like they're redundant. So, anyways, as you can see, the sharing goes on in this fashion. And as you continue on, you're given more and more responsibility. As you do this through your family, through your children, and then your soul group, what's going to happen is this, is now you're, after that, there's even one more step which I didn't put in the video here. You're going to be given the opportunity to go even further with it and start templating other people around you. Now, I want to give you an example or a snippet of this, okay? So that this is going to come out in another video. This is just a snippet, just kind of a teaser, if you will. Most of you will recall that part of the package of going through this connection with the other half of you is there's a certain part of your empathic abilities which you may have already had that suddenly gets very, very strong, okay? And a lot of you are complaining. I'm going to do a video on this very shortly also. A lot of you are complaining, Mel, how do I deal with picking up on other people's energies? Okay? Because you're picking up on the lower vibrational energies of other people. And what are a lot of you doing? You're doing the same thing I'm doing. You're hiding. You're going out at certain times strategically when there's the least amount of people around, type of thing. What you don't know is you're learning to acquire and slip and slide through the dimensions of consciousness of the layers of the people. And all of those layers and those people that come to you are uncomfortable with are only a reflection of the original templates that you got from your parents that you have that you're now picking up from other people. So as that reaches, and there's still some who are together who are experiencing some of this still, of going around other people and picking them up. That's because you're now learning to slide through the different dimensions of consciousness. And you're going to experience this again. So you're going to be templating those people because you're going to become comfortable. I'm going to do a video on this later on down the road. Okay, now I'm going to stop here because this is a 40-minute video and I think that's long enough. I don't want to bore you all to tears. I have really enjoyed doing this one. And actually, I've been kind of working at it since yesterday. I did 2 takes on it already, and I didn't like either one of them. So I'm doing it again. I like this one. I'm gonna use this one. It really has been a pleasure, and I really, really hope that some of you understand the important work that you're actually doing, and you need to feel good about yourself of what you're accomplishing. And if you're listening to what I'm saying, you're going to say, yeah, I get it. Yeah, I never thought of it that way. We need to really start seeing this as a process of evolution. And as someone in the process of evolution acquires a higher state of consciousness and acquires a belief system that goes along with that, that resonates the frequencies through their body physical, their body mental, their body emotional, then they become part of the emissaries, the ambassadors, the people who go out and you actually do more things for other people. This is not about 1 or 2 people like Jesus being on the planet or 15 or 20. This is about the domino effect, literally, when it comes to people. It goes all the way down the line. That's what you're doing. And as you connect with other people, they do the same thing. So what we're doing is the process of evolution is speeding up very, very quickly, because if it doesn't, the way we're going now, take a look around you. We're probably going to turn this whole planet into a sewer pile. Because look what we've done to the ocean already. Look at it. I mean, it's becoming a cesspool. And we did it. And you know what really is sad? All of that shit that's going into the ocean, coming from every country in the world, and has been contributed to by every person in the world, and nobody wants to accept responsibility. It's time for everyone to be responsible for yourself, first of all, in that way. Have a great day, everyone. Love you all.